SMU is hosting an Agent Academy this weekend, and headlining this event, Superagent Leigh Steinberg. He joins me now. He represented more than 300 pro athletes in 4 decades of work, including Troy Aikman, and that's where my first question begins here. Interesting to think that this Cowboys dynasty almost didn't happen because of those negotiations. Can you talk a bit more about that?
I remember at one point, Jerry Jones said, well, if you don't like our offer, we're going to take Tony Mandarich as our first pick. And I said, well, put him on your press book. I think they'll attract a lot of sales. But that was the inception of the modern Dallas Cowboys. And Jerry, I thought, was an amazing owner because he was so open to new ideas. And I knew we were going to be okay because we'd done the biggest contract of all time, and he said to me, how do you think I should term this? And I said, well, why not get the pop out of it by saying it's the largest rookie contract of all time? Other owners don't do this. Went up to the press conference, biggest contract of all time. But Troy lived through the tough days, and then I had Russell Maryland drafted as the first pick and ended up with Moose Johnston and Darren Woodson and Jason Garrett, and it was an unbelievably fun run.
Well, talk about what it's like negotiating with Jerry Jones compared with, say, any other owner. What makes Jerry Jones different in that regard? Because it's a side we don't get to see very much.
Well, first of all, he's whip smart. So you're dealing with someone with a really high IQ. Second of all, he's got a passion for winning, so he will do anything to help the Cowboys win. Third of all, he's got the ability and creativity to think outside the square. So you can come up with a novel concept. I credit Jerry Jones as being the progenitor for a lot of what we think of as modern NFL, for parts of fantasy football, for marketing, branding, for the new stadia that we see. So he came at it with a fresh look, and he's got extraordinary energy and is very logical, and I love dealing with him. I think he, in many ways, is the best owner in the NFL.
And going into the Hall of Fame, well-deserved, I assume.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just what he did for the Cowboys, and they built this formula with a smash-mouth offensive line, a high-accuracy Hall of Fame quarterback, a running game that just was ahead of its times. But it's more what he did for the whole of pro football. He's partially responsible for the fact that television revenue went from a couple $1 million per team to $226 million per team. He's responsible for the spate of brand new stadia with luxury boxes, naming rights, ancillary revenue streams. He pioneered the concept of marketing, where you have Dallas allied with Carnival Cruises. He pioneered the whole concept of using the internet in modern ways to push out content. I mean, really tremendous, and he allied with young owners or newer owners like Bob Kraft and Dan Snyder and Pat Bowlen, and they really reshaped the NFL into the country's most dominant sport and highest rated television show. So, and he also raised some amazing kids, so that Stephen Jones is not a typical owner's son. He's very talented, so is Charlotte, Jerry Jr. But unlike some powerful people that you see who the kids are sort of crushed by their profile, he raised some amazing children.
I want to talk about negotiation in the modern era. It seems like NFL teams are a lot more data-driven than ever before. I mean, analytics have always been around the NFL, but now it has really gone to a next level. Does that make it easier or harder to negotiate deals for players?
So there are 2 levels of deals that you really need to look at. One is rookie deals. So now we have a salary cap, which is very cut and dry, and it was specifically put in for rookies to give proven productive starters the money. So it's eliminated holdouts, it's made negotiation much easier, but it does limit player rights because first rounders are now covered for 5 years. Veteran negotiations are very analytics driven. So it's a matter of who a player compares to in terms of years of experience, productivity on the field, impact on his team. And so in free agency, it really is a matter of the free market. Free agency produces A-plus contracts for B-plus players because they're the only ones who get loose. But in any negotiation, the question is, what has a player produced for himself? What's his impact been on the team? And how does that compare to other similarly situated players?
And sometimes C-plus quarterbacks get A-plus contracts as well. Well, I wonder, too, with veteran contracts, I mean, injuries come up a lot, especially in football, and that seems to be the big negotiating point, as it were. Do medical analytics play a bigger role now than ever before?
So for years and years and years, the most dangerous sport that produces the most dangerous injuries, pro football, had the least guaranteed contracts. They were standard in baseball, basketball, and hockey. Now, since the advent of the 2011 collective bargaining agreement, for example, this year the first 21 players in the first round as rookies got totally guaranteed contracts for skill and injury. So we're seeing more injury guarantees. But the ability to stay healthy is key. And of course, we now have concussion as an underlying issue. I had the first concussion seminar back in 1994, and players like Troy and Warren Moon and Steve Young sat and listened to neurologists. I think that we need to be diligent about focusing on better methods of prevention. There are new helmets out now that can displace the energy flow and make a real difference. But I think that my role has to be more than just negotiating dollars. It has to be trying to safeguard the health of players.
Tell me about the event this weekend.
So as I would go around the country, there were thousands and thousands of young people who prioritized as their first real priority trying to be in a career in sports. And when they would go to business school or law school or sports marketing programs, they didn't really teach specific skills. They taught basic principles. So my younger partner, Chris Cabin, and I have been doing a series of agent academies across the country. It'll be 2 days in Dallas where young people can learn from Chris Hall, the scouting guru at the Cowboys, how players are evaluated. They have an opportunity to learn how to recruit. They're going to recruit Patrick Mahomes, the 10th player pick, the new quarterback for Kansas City. We'll teach them how to recruit, negotiate, brand, market, crisis control, how to set up a charitable foundation, and give them real specific training. We're trying to create a new generation of superstars in sports business, primarily agencies. So it's a very unique experience. It'll be at SMU. People can look to our website, steinbergsports.com/Agent Academy to sign up.
And again, it's happening this weekend.
Saturday and Sunday.
Sounds great. Sports agent Leigh Steinberg, thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed it.
It's been my pleasure.
And I'm Edward Egros, Fox 4 Sports.